Hello. So, I'm making a video. I'm making a video. I'm making a little video. I'm making a little video. Um, okay, sorry, I was just making sure my phone is on silent. But yeah, I'm making a little video, to talk about, I guess, the big thing that happened this week. Technically last week, because it was on Saturday. I did a 12-hour overnight shift for my job. Now, I can't tell you what it was for because I could get fired for exposing the secret, but it was pretty cool. It was for a famous person. I'll just leave it at that. I did, in fact, get to see them with my own two eyes. They were like 15 feet away from me, which was pretty cool. It's kind of like, wow, you're real. You're not just someone I see on TV. But yeah, I had a little overnight shift. I'm doing another one, technically tomorrow because it's Wednesday, but I'm doing one Thursday to Friday, 12 hours, from 8 to 8, pretty much. Technically 8 to 7:30, but yeah, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't that bad. It was not that bad. I think the worst part was maybe the last like 3 hours of just waiting. But there was a decent amount of stuff going on for well over half the night. I'd say for about like 6-7 hours there was stuff happening, and then it really started to slow down early in the morning at around 3 or 4. And that's when it just became super boring, but it wasn't that bad. I didn't feel tired at all. Granted, I did drink 2 energy drinks. I had a C4 and a Monster. I had a C4 before the shift, and then I had a Monster about 5 hours in. But I pretty much just stood up. I walked around for about 12 hours straight. My feet were absolutely destroyed. I've never... Standing for 12 hours is kind of insane. We did get breaks. We got 15-minute break and a 30-minute lunch. We had a couple 15s. You could take them pretty much whenever. You just had to make sure one of the roamers covered your position. But it was honestly not that bad. Now, the worst part by far was going home. Going home and not being sure if I should go to bed or just stay up. I tried sleeping at like 10 a.m. and I pretty much just laid on my bed for 4 hours with my eyes closed and I couldn't fall asleep. I felt like incredibly tired. I felt super fatigued. Just crazy, crazy tired, but I could not fall asleep, which is kind of strange. I think the fact that it was in a stadium really messed up my like sleep drive or something, because I was standing underneath these big bright lights for 12 hours. Like, I did not see it was, you could not tell what time it was because it was just so bright. But yeah, it was a cool experience. Again, I'm doing another one on Thursday. I think I prefer them over the day shifts, because during the night shift I barely had to really interact with anyone. It was just a lot of people leaving, and I was just like, okay, hey, goodbye. And then when people were coming in, of course I had to check for credentials, but I didn't actually have to stop anyone because everyone had their credentials like on them, like hanging off them. So unless, if I don't get visual confirmation, then I'll stop someone, but everyone had them on, so didn't need to really talk to anyone. I did talk to one guy. He was really cool. He does like even more. He does private security. He's like, here's actually this, here's me, here's him, right? He's almost off the top of the screen. I talked to him and he was like, yeah, I I did unarmed security when I was 18, and then I did armed when I was 22, and then when I was 23, I joined the police department, and I did that for 20 years, and then after doing that, I got into, he used a really, like, specific term, but it's basically, like, private security for famous people, which is really cool. I mean, he was really chill, just a really cool guy to talk to. He was just like, yeah, man, if you can somehow make it to where I am, it's pretty rewarding, and it's really cool because you get to meet a ton of, like, celebrities and all this stuff. And he has pictures with a lot of them, of course being professional, right? But he was like, he didn't tell me their names or anything because confidentiality. But he was like, yeah, man, I met a lot of people, traveled, and he was like, this is probably one of the best groups to work with. The person in question that he was working for, he was like, yeah, this is probably the best person to work for. They're really kind. So I don't know, it was a cool experience. Again, I'm doing it on Thursday. I don't know, we'll see how Thursday goes. I feel like the first time you do something, there's a bit of a honeymoon period, especially with, like, jobs. There's, like, a honeymoon period where you're like, this isn't so bad. And then, like, a couple more times of that, and then it's like, okay, this kind of sucks. So we'll see. I definitely had a better position than other people. Again, I was at one of the exits, or I was at the only exit, pretty much. So I was interacting with people for a majority of my shift, but one of the guys on the crew got, I don't know, he got a position where he was, like, standing near, like, some exit doors, right? Some entrance exit doors, and that weren't in use, and he was supposed to make sure no one was using them. And that was all he did for 12 hours, was just stand there and, like, not talk to anyone, and just, like, afterwards he was just like, yeah, man, I just started counting the holes in the ceiling in the paint. I was like, yeah, that's gotta suck. So yeah, I mean, maybe I'll get a position like that. I'm hoping I don't. I'm hoping I get one of the good positions again, specifically around people. But there are a majority of the positions are in the middle of nowhere, making sure people aren't getting into places they shouldn't be. But yeah, no, it's a pretty neat experience, pretty cool. Again, everyone on my crew was, like, really chill. The overnight people just, like, really chill. Probably because it's overnight. And also the supervisor we had was really chill. Apparently she doesn't really do, like, supervising. She just kind of had to, like, fill in that slot because they don't have a lot of people who do overnights. But I guess another thing is that my feet, like, just, like, 5, 6, 7 hours in, they started to cramp really bad. Especially when I would stand still, my toes would just, like, cramp immediately. So I was just pacing back and forth the entire time. We did have chairs. There were some seats we could sit down on, but I didn't want to do that because I knew if I did that, I'd probably fall asleep. Not fall asleep, but I probably would get tired, and I didn't want to feel like that for, the rest of my shift. So I pretty much just walked around. I did sit on a stool, with no back. So I was, like, forced to sort of, like, stay alert, I guess you could say. But, it was pretty cool. Again, I can't tell you guys. I wish I could tell you more because it's just really cool experience, but I can't, because if I do, I could get fired if someone links this video. But yeah, going back Thursday, I'll tell you guys when the thing happens, like when the thing actually happens, and it's, like, public. Then I'll be like, yo, I was there for that. But right now I just can't tell you anything, for security's sake. But yeah, going back Thursday. And then next month I have some more work booked next month. And then at the end of next month, the trip happens. I actually, some of my cousins, or my cousin, and then my auntie and uncle from New Zealand, they were here yesterday. They were here on some sort of, my auntie was giving a speech at a local university, or technically a college, I'm pretty sure. Or no, okay, it was a university. She gave a speech at a university about New Zealand, and I think it had to do with why am I blanking? Like, not like native stuff, but like just like traditional, like cultural things. Yeah, she was invited to speak at one of the universities here in my state. So they drove over and visited us. It was pretty cool meeting them. And then when I go to New Zealand, we're probably going to meet them again. Mainly because we're planning to have like a big barbecue. Not barbecue, but just like a get together. So me and my siblings can meet all of our other cousins and uncles and aunties down there. Just as many as that'll show up. And we'll probably do that again in Australia. But I guess one thing I really want to do in New Zealand is go to Hobbiton. We may go. We do have it planned out. Technically, we just haven't bought tickets because we just need to get we need to make sure my uncle can drive us. Technically, drop us off, and then my other uncle can pick us up because it's got to be. It's like an hour and 30 away from both of my uncles. So uncle, Hobbiton. So when we're done staying with this uncle, we go to Hobbiton, we get dropped off, and then when we're done there, the other uncle drives, picks us up, and we go back. We just have to make sure they're good with that. They're okay with that. Which I think they will be. My dad, they're my dad's brothers. My dad said that they'll pretty much do anything we ask them to, because they're family, they're blood. And I think that's just a cool thing. I don't know about other cultures, other peoples, but something with just Kiwis, New Zealanders in general, is everyone, at least everyone I meet or I've been introduced to, is very close knit. They all, even if we aren't related, they're you can call me auntie, you can call me uncle. And that's just cool. It's my dad has all these connections with just people, and it's yeah, just mention my name, just name drop me, and they'll blah 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 blah. So I don't know, that'll be cool to experience, in mass, because it does happen in the States, but not as much, just because there aren't that many Kiwis over here. But when my dad does meet someone, it just instantly they pop off and they start talking about who they could potentially be related to. And they're oh, that's my third cousin removed on my mom's side. What's up, brother? Just stuff like that. It's funny. It's always funny to be there and listen to that conversation, because they will find someone they are related to, and they will be oh yeah, no, you're my blood. This is cool. At least that's how I've experienced everything. Yeah, it's just cool. It's cool like that. But then I also want to go to museums. I don't know of any good, or I just don't know of any museums in New Zealand. I mean, we went to Rotorua, when I was 8, when we went to New Zealand, when I was in 3rd grade. We went to the cultural center there, and we watched them do dances with the pom-poms. It was not pom-poms, but it was these 2 balls on a string, and they had them in each hand, and they would wave them around, and they did these kind of like nunchucks, but not nunchucks, and they were doing these cool dances and stuff. But yeah, we went to the cultural center there, and I remember that. It also, Rotorua is it's either built on or right next to hot springs, but they're the I think they're sulfuric, not sulfuric. I don't know what they smell really nasty. They smell like rotten eggs. So I remember that, and there's also a lot of wild cats. There were just like a ton of wild cats there. And we also did a luge. There was a luge in Rotorua as well that we did. I remember we like hiked a mountain. I think we also went to a farm, and that was like all we did in New Zealand. And then in Australia, we went to, I think Warner Brother World is in Australia. I remember we went to Warner Brother World. I just can't remember which place. I'm pretty sure it's in Australia. We went there. We went to a water park. I can't remember. I think it was a water park. I don't know. But we went to the park where, if any of you have watched H2O, Just Add Water, that TV show from the 2000s where the girls, if they touch water, they transform into mermaids. My little sister was obsessed with that show. That show was filmed in Australia, and we went to the I think it might have been SeaWorld. We went to the SeaWorld where it was filmed. Of course, we didn't know that at the time. This was before we found H2O, but my little sister wants to go to the different places that they filmed H2O, which should be possible. I'm pretty sure it's next to the, some of the filming places at least are around the area that we're staying in New Zealand or Australia. But I really want to go to just I guess like retrace our steps that we did when words are escaping me, when we visited back in 2011 I think, 2012 to 2013 I believe. Hold on, I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure it's 2012 to 2013. I can't remember. That seems too recent. But yeah, I just want to like retrace the steps. Like one of the like memories I have is like, I'm not sure which city it was, but it was a city in Australia where it was literally like tall buildings just along the coast. Like you could walk from the street onto the beach, and it was just it kind of like blew my mind. It was just like straight city up until the beach, and then you just walk onto the beach. Like it's not like that in California. Like in California, it's not these tall it's like shops, right? Because California is pretty hilly. At least the place we go to Oceanside. So it's not like Los Angeles, skyscrapers and all that. That's what I remember about Australia, was just how it's like really tall, not skyscraper level, but just like really tall buildings, and then it just goes instantly into the beach. Kind of like, I guess, Florida. I think Florida has some cities like that where it just like instantly transitions, but that was one of the things I remember. I don't know why. I don't know why that's stuck in my brain for so long, and it's like one of the core images I see when I think of Australia is like looking down a city road and seeing, tall buildings, and then it's like, wow, ocean, beach right there. So it was funny. Also, there's a McDonald's. There's like a McDonald's on the right hand side. But yeah, I don't know. I guess as the date comes closer, the more excited I am getting, but at the same time, the more nervous I am getting. The more like stressed out I'm getting, which is, I don't know, kind of sucks. Like when you're a kid and you're going on vacation, I feel like you're not really stressed out because you don't have to worry about anything, right? Everything's taken care of, but like this, like no one's planning this out for us. Like we have to plan all this out. So it's kind of like, oh man, this sucks. And then you have to make sure everything is like, you have to coordinate with everyone. You have to make sure people are like on time and you have enough money to pay for everything. And it's just like, oh my god, this sucks. I wish I had a personal manager who would be like, this is when you're going, this is how you're gonna get there, this is how much we've paid, blah 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 blah. And I guess you technically could get that because they have those like guided tours in like Europe. Like one of my buddies from Target, not really buddies, but just one of my coworkers from Target went on like a 3-week long trip to Europe where it was just like a guided tour where they went through like all the different countries, pretty much just like following the path of World War II. Like, so you start out in England and then you go to France, and then from France you advance into Europe, into Germany, I guess, following like the Allies as they advanced in. I guess you could technically do that. That sounds fun. Because then you don't really have to worry, right? You don't have to worry as much. You just gotta pay, show up, and then make sure you don't miss anything. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Bit of a long one, 20 minutes. Wow, that's me. That's me making up for these very inconsistent uploads. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in whatever next video I do next. I might do a gameplay video of Space Station 14 because I've really been enjoying that game recently, but we will see. So, I love you, 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 and I'll see you in